Good day, everyone. Welcome to our virtual class. Our topic would be the attitudes, beliefs, and behavior, models of health behavior change, health promotion, and disease prevention. We'll be tackling about the first topic of this lesson. Our report coverage would be the health belief model and the theory of recent action and planned behavior. Our aim for this is to answer some questions as we discuss, and these questions would be what can we see from these theories and what is their significance in our community or society as a whole, and what are its different limitations. Moving on to the first topic would be the health belief model. It is originally developed by Rosenstock in 1966 and was further developed by Becker and his colleagues throughout the 1970s to 1980s. Yung goal nito or yung aim nila is to predict yung preventive health behaviors and also the behavioral response to treatment in acutely and chronically ill patients. However, over recent years, the HBM has been used to predict a wide variety of health-related behaviors. And yung health belief model natin is also considered as the oldest and most commonly used social cognition model in public health and health promotion. Also, yung health belief model natin is a value expectancy theory in which it is based on the idea that our behavior is the subjective value of the outcome, in which dito papasok yung tanong na, why should I do this? Or bakit ko gagawin to? And yung subjective expectation of achieving the result, in which dito din papasok yung tanong na, am I able to do this? Kaya ko ba? So the primary focus of the HBM is the understanding of health-related behavior. So it focuses on individual representations of health and determines that these are key influences in health behavior. So moving on, we can see here, meron tayong constructs. So this is the basic of health belief model. So we have here the constructs. We have 7: susceptibility, severity, costs, benefits, cues to action, health motivation, and perceived control. These constructs will now then lead to the likelihood of behavior, which is yung person na mag-engage sa parang preventive measure or yung behavior na naisip niya or yung parang goal niya. Then we have here the demographic variables or the modifying factors. So yung modifying factors or demographic variables influences some of our constructs. So makikita natin later. Then we have here our constructs. So the first one will be the perceived susceptibility. This refers to people's beliefs regarding their own risk of developing a disease or high condition. Also, this refers to a person's subjective perception of the risk of acquiring an illness or disease. So basically, it talks about yung parang chances natin na makuha yung parang disease or illness. Yung chances na yun, whether it could be high chance or low chance, depending dun sa modifying factors, kasi nga nakaka-influence yun. And also, we have the perceived severity, which refers to people's beliefs about how serious a health condition or disease is and the degree of threat it poses to them personally. So this refers to a person's feelings on the seriousness of contracting an illness or disease. So dito, it talks about yung intensity. Gaano ka-intense yung sa paniniwala natin, gaano ka-intense if na-acquire ko ang isang disease or illness, gaano siya ka-intense, like parang iti-take ko ba siya seriously or I'll just let it be, gano'n. So parang meron din siyang depende sa feelings or belief ng tao, and yung severity is that meron siyang parang kino-consider na medical consequences such as if, for example, yung lung cancer. So it is a serious matter. Then according to my belief na parang if I acquire that disease or illness is that it can lead to death. With that belief, parang mataas yung severity ko. Mataas yung severity or parang tinitignan ko yung disease na yun seriously that it can lead to death. Next one, we have the perceived benefits. So this refers to people's beliefs about the effectiveness of preventive measures and treatment. Dito, meron na tayong parang goal or we've already think about some preventive measures in order to lessen yung parang susceptibility natin to acquire the illness. So, for example, is that parang engaging in healthy lifestyle and diet. So, for me, ano yung benefits ng behavior na yon or preventive measure na yon? Doon papasok yung perceived benefits. So, yung benefits ba is to have a healthy lifestyle, to lessen yung susceptibility ko in acquiring yung certain illness, ganun. Then we have the perceived barriers. This refers to people's belief about the cost of taking action to prevent disease and promote wellness, including the monetary, physical, and emotional costs. So this refers to a person's feelings on the obstacles to performing a recommended health action. So ito yung parang feelings natin towards yung obstacle upon engaging to that preventive measure. For example, ano yung problemang nakikita natin pag nag-engage tayo sa healthy lifestyle and diet? Ayun. It could fall under monetary, physical, and emotional cost. So we'll be parang discussing a more brief example later para mas ma-incorporate natin lahat ng constructs. So those are the four original constructs, but three additional ones were added later as the model was modified by other researchers. So these three would be first, the cues to action, which is internal and external motivating factors that cause people to take action. So this is the stimulus needed to trigger the decision-making process to accept a recommended health action. So parang it will fall under internal and external. We'll be giving more examples later para mas distinguish natin yung dalawa. Next will be the self-efficacy in which yung confidence that people have regarding the likelihood that they're taking action will be successful. Dito naman, it basically talks about the confidence of a person in engaging to that behavior. Like, gaano siya ka-confident? Is it is it highly confident or mababa yung confidence niya? Dito, makikita natin na 'pag mataas yung confidence mo, most likely magiging successful yung pag-engage mo dun sa behavior. 'Pag mababa naman yung confidence mo and then magiging less successful siya. Next would be the general motivation, which is people's readiness to be concerned about and deal with health issues. Kung kanina we talk about confidence, kaya naman is yung readiness niya. Yung readiness niya to be concerned about the illness or kung paano niya i-de-deal or paano niya i-overcome yung certain illness or disease na yun. So dito, yung sinabi natin kanina na mas brief example, so this is a parang diagram in which we can apply the constructs. So we have here first the modifying factors. Sabi ko nga kanina, we have two, demographic and psychosocial factors. Also, we can include structural factors such as yung knowledge mo about sa disease. Gaano karami yung knowledge mo? Are you knowledgeable about it or you don't know anything about it? Next naman is yung prior contact. Is it parang recently you've been in contact with the disease? Ganun. Tapos, yun nga, yung modifying factors natin, it influences some of our constructs, which is the perceived susceptibility. Yung perceived risk of having diabetes mellitus type 1 or getting diabetes mellitus type 2 in the future. So yung example natin dito would be diabetes. So let's give an example sa modifying factors na pwedeng maka-influence sa perceived susceptibility natin in acquiring diabetes. Let's say parang sa family natin may cases ng nagkaroon sila ng diabetes. So, merong genetic predisposition which increases yung susceptibility natin to acquire diabetes. With that said, yung perceived severity naman natin is that are we taking are we taking diabetes as a serious matter? If yes, then what does it ano yung parang outcome nito in the long run or in the future? Like for us, if we take it seriously and yung belief natin is that parang it can cause death, ganun. So with that, mapupunta na siya sa perceived threat, which is having diabetes or getting diabetes in the future. 'Pag high yung perceived susceptibility natin, high din yung perceived severity natin, then yung perceived threat natin doon is that mataas din. With that, ano kaya tapos dito na papasok yung cues to action natin, like what are the stimulus na puwedeng maka-trigger sa'tin in order to engage sa isang preventive measure. So dito, sabi natin kanina may dalawang types. This would be external and internal. Example of internal example of external cues to action natin would be public health campaigns, like we are exposed to the public health campaigns, or nakakakita tayo ng advertisements, pamphlets, and posters, or also we are influenced by parang our friends or family na sinasabihan tayo take action, gano'n. Also, yung parang another example of one example of internal naman is that yung parang na-experience na natin yung symptoms. So basically, yung external is from our environment and yung internal is from our body mismo. Ganun. So with that, upon consideration, babalik tayo sa perceived threat, then we'll be going to the, parang with that, mag, dito na makikita if mag-e-engage ba tayo or yung likelihood natin to engage in a healthy diet and lifestyle. Moving on naman dito sa perceived benefits natin, since yun nga yung preventive measure natin is to engage in a healthy diet and healthy lifestyle. So ano yung nakikita nating benefits nun? Siyempre, mare-reduce yung risk ng diabetes, like yung susceptibility natin in having that. Also yung reassurance and yung peace of mind natin kasi nga the thought na meron na tayong ginagawa in order to prevent or to lessen yung susceptibility natin. Next would be the perceived barriers. Ano yung parang yung since yung preventive measure natin is to engage doon, ano yung parang barriers or obstacles na nakikita natin pag pag nag-engage tayo sa ganong preventive measure? First is siyempre worried tayo about sa pain. And next is yung since sabi natin healthy diet is yung cost of healthy foods. 'Pag ba nag-engage ka or you consume healthy foods, is kino-consider mo yung prices? Is it expensive? Gano'n. Also, nakaka-affect din dito yung parang yung psychological and physiological strain na experience natin upon sa transition from one lifestyle to another. So, kung ikaw yung tao na parang you have a normal lifestyle, hindi ka masyado into extracurricular, wala ka masyadong ginagawa, tapos bigla ka magta-transition from a healthy lifestyle is that magkakaroon siya ng strain, both physiological and psychological. With that, given that, dito din ma-i-influence din nito yung likelihood natin to engage in a healthy diet and lifestyle. Dito makikita yung minus outweigh. So yung perceived benefits natin, parang ima-minus natin sa perceived barriers. 'Pag mas nag-increase yung perceived benefits natin, 'pag parang mas higher yung perceived benefits natin, then most likely mag-e-engage tayo dun sa preventive measure na yun. Next na nakaka-influence naman dito is yung self-efficacy. Ito naman yung sabi natin kanina is yung confidence natin in ability to engage in a healthy lifestyle. So 'pag confident ka na magagawa mo mag-engage sa preventive measure na yun, then most likely mas mataas or mas successful yung parang makukuha mong benefits. 'Pag less likely naman is that magiging less successful yung outcome. Ayun. So, also relating to this model in our community kasi dun sa parang gagawa tayo ng another example relating naman sa parang community concerns. So, one example would be sa barangay namin, which is sa Irisan, is that um, maraming students dun and maraming schools. So, parang it's alarming na yung mga students is nag-e-engage sila in smoking, like they smoke, gano'n. With this bad behavior, there's a chance for them to be susceptible to illness and diseases such as lung cancer, um, heart diseases like stroke, type 2 diabetes, and other serious health complications. So meron tayong another example here, like yung parang diagram natin. So, ang issue natin, ang kinuha natin parang illnesses or disease na maaari nilang makuha is that yung lung cancer. So yung perceived susceptibility natin is the chances or risk of them having lung cancer given the modifying factors such as yung age nila, sex, ethnicity, social class, education, personality. So let's say yung age nila is that they are still young. So when they engage in smoking is that and it is continuous, mas mataas yung chances or mas mataas yung risk of them having the disease or lung cancer. With that, yung perceived severity nila is that if they believe na 'pag nagkaroon sila ng lung cancer is that they believe that it is a serious matter, then most likely they will consider it as a threat, ayun. So, with that, ano yung parang triggers, ano kayang mga triggers in which, makaka-push sa kanila or makakapag-motivate sa kanila in order to engage in a preventive measure para ma-lessen or ma-prevent na makuha nila yung disease na yun. That would be for our external examples would be yung guidance ng parents sa bahay, also yung guidance ng teachers sa school. Kasi with that, mas mataas yung chances na ma-motivate sila to engage in a preventive measure. Also, yung if ever na may nakita silang pamphlets or maybe advertisements and posters na nakikita nila physically like sa environment nila or digitally since alam mga natin yung mga bata ngayon is parang they're active on social media. Ayun. Another naman, yung example natin sa internal would be if that person is already engaging in smoking and nakakaramdam siya ng symptoms of the disease like kahit simpleng paubo-ubo na gano'n, that would fall under internal. With that, magiging aware siya na parang, hala, may chances na makakuha ako ng lung cancer since aware siya na parang nag-e-engage siya sa smoking and alam niya yung parang possible illnesses na puwede niyang makuha with that. With that, babalik siya sa perceived threat, then most likely dito na magde-determine or ma-i-influence niya yung likelihood if mag-e-engage ba siya or hindi sa preventive measure natin. Dito, yung preventive measure natin is to not engage in smoking or to stop smoking. Ayun. Next would be the perceived benefits, which yun nga, since yung preventive measure natin is to not engage or stop smoking, ano yung mga benefits nito sa atin? First, siyempre, it will reduce the risk of lung cancer and other related diseases. Kasi hindi lang naman lung cancer yung pwedeng makuha through smoking. Marami pang iba. Also, we also have the reassurance, yung peace of mind. Also dito, makaka-save ka since you will not be parang buying cigarettes and vapes. Like yung money mo is parang mas masa-save mo pa. Hindi mo siya ini-spend sa mga vices mo. Next, we have the perceived barriers in which ano yung mga 'pag nag-stop ka in smoking or hindi ka nag-engage sa smoking, ano yung parang obstacles nito? Siyempre, worried about the pain or yung parang, um hindi ka makaka-experience ng pain upon engaging smoking. And also, puwede siyang mai-connect dito sa the urge of engaging again in smoking kasi nga 'di ba, dalawa yung preventive measure natin. It's either not to engage and stop. Yung stop kasi is ibig sabihin nun parang nag-smoke na sila so yung preventive measure nila is to stop lang dun. And alam naman natin na yung smoking is parang nagre-result siya sa addiction. So, parang you keep on parang hinahanap-hanap mo yung taste nun, gano'n. So, dito, yung parang obstacle natin is that parang yung urge of engaging in smoking kasi 'di ba, yung goal mo is to stop pero may feelings ka pa rin na parang gusto mo. Yun yung parang magiging isang obstacle na makikita mo. Next is yung fear of cancer. So yan, 'pag sinubtract natin or tinignan natin yung outweigh between perceived benefits and perceived barriers, 'pag mas mataas yung parang perceived benefits natin, then most likely mag-e-engage tayo sa ating preventive measure. And also yung self-efficacy, sabi natin kanina, if you are confident na hindi ka na mag-i-smoke or mag-i-stop ka, then most likely mas mataas yung chances mo for it to be successful or magiging maganda yung outcome. So moving on, we have the HBM. So the HBM derives from psychological and behavioral theory, with the foundation that the two components of health-related behavior are the desire to avoid illness or conversely get well if already ill, and the belief that a specific health action will prevent or cure illness. So, one important aspect of public health is the design of programs that encourage people to engage in healthy behaviors. So, understanding how the health belief model can apply to different situations can be useful. So, for example, dito yung experts may be interested sila in understanding yung public attitudes about cancer screenings, 'di ba? So looking at factors such as yung perception of cancer risk, yung benefits of being screened for cancer, and the barriers to being screened can help healthcare professionals look for ways to encourage people to get screened. So when they screen, mas malalesen yung susceptibility nila in acquiring cancer. Ganun. So also sa school naman, in school setting, for example, we can rely on educational programs para ma-help natin yung children to understand challenges regarding health, yung substance use, physical activity, nutrition, personal based on the health belief model, and work to educate and also to offer skill training para ma-reduce yung barriers and yung para ma-boost yung self-efficacy nila or yung confidence nila to engage in a preventive measure so that maging successful or maging maganda yung outcome. So what are the criticisms of the health belief model? So parang yung health belief model, it fails to address yung what. So these are yung how habits can shape decisions, the fact that people often engage in actions for reasons other than health, such as social acceptance. Dito pwede natin ipasok yung parang peer pressure, in which although alam mo na parang bawal or masama yung pag-engage mo sa isang bad behavior, is that gagawin mo pa rin, considering or parang risking yung health mo just for you to be accepted by your peers, ganun. Next, economic and environmental factors such as living in a food desert or lacking resources to afford fresh fruits and vegetables. Next, individuals' beliefs, attitudes, and other characteristics. Dito, we all know that people has different beliefs and different attitudes towards parang parang illness or diseases. So some might be parang taking some illness seriously, or some are just taking it lightly na parang, "Hmm, okey lang ganito, ganyan." In the long run, maku-cure naman or we cannot say. The next one is how to change health behaviors rather than merely describe them. So, how effective is the health belief model? So, the health belief model has been used for decades to help produce behavior change interventions. Research suggests that the health belief model can help professionals develop strategies that promote healthy behaviors and improve the prevention and treatment of health conditions. So, there is this study which is published in Health Psychology Review, and they found out that yung health belief model is nakapag-report ng 78%, in which it is a significant improvement in behavior adherence. Also, of the studies, they look at 39% reported moderate to large effects related to health interventions. So, parang in conclusion is that yung health belief model helps in parang uh, predicting yung parang actions or behavior ng person in order for them to parang engage in a preventive measures in order to lessen yung parang susceptibility nila in having the diseases and illness, and to direct them to a healthy and much more parang good habits or good health habits. Ayun. So that ends the lesson on the health belief model, and the succeeding lesson would be presented by my other group mates.
The theory of reasoned action. The theory of reasoned action, or TRA, suggests that a person's behavior is determined by their intention to perform the behavior, and that this intention is in turn a function of their attitude toward the behavior and subjective norms. This particular theory is created by Martin Fishbein and Ijek Eisen in 1975. And it is originally as an improvement to the information integration theory. The theory of reasoned action differs from from information integration theory for a few reasons. The first of these is the idea of behavioral attention. The three most important components of the theory of reasoned action are beliefs, attitudes, and intentions. This theory is also let's say, the pioneer of the theory of planned behavior, which is a cognitive theory that helps psychologists understand human behavior in specific contexts. Most notably, the theory of reasoned action has been used to assist in predicting and explaining health behaviors. The theory of reasoned action has four main terms: belief, attitude, subjective norms, and intention. This is the model of the theory of reasoned action. So let's say the attitudes and subjective norms combined together, they form your behavioral intention. And this behavioral intention is like your fuel for your action, which is the behavior. Let's talk about the first, which is the beliefs. Beliefs is the probability that an object has some attribute. Usually, this is used to mean that someone has a belief that some action or behavior will lead to a consequence. And people can have different beliefs. For example, if someone says, I think I will get lung cancer if I will smoke every day, that means that they hold a belief about smoking. Attitudes. Attitudes is a person's positive or negative evaluation of a particular behavior, whether or not someone thinks the behavior is a good or bad idea, or if it will lead to outcomes that they will personally value. Attitudes is also the function of beliefs, and Fishbein and Eisen define attitude as a disposition to respond favorably or unfavorably towards some psychological object. People can have different beliefs. Sorry. The main point of this model is that attitudes are a function of beliefs. Attitudes are equivalent to the sum of belief strengths multiplied by outcome evaluation for each of someone's belief. For example, if a behavioral scientist wanted to predict someone's intention to exercise, that person's attitude towards exercise would be a function of all their beliefs about whether exercise will lead to outcomes that they desire. If someone thinks that exercise will lead to desirable outcomes, like having a better physique or having a better looking body, then they will have a positive attitude toward it. Meanwhile, someone who thinks that exercise will lead to undesirable outcomes, like exercising could get you injured or something like that, then this will have, and then they will have a negative attitude toward that. Subjective norms. Sum of all Subjective norms is the sum of all the important people in someone's life, whether they think those people would want them to perform the behavior. Psychologists define two types of subjective norms: injunctive norm and descriptive norm. Subjective norms is also known as social pressure. So, like, this is more on how other people would think about what you should do. For example, someone may think about whether their spouse, doctor, or mother wants them to exercise. All in all, intentions are a function of attitude and subjective norms. And subjective norms is divided into two, which is injunctive and descriptive. Injunctive is what other people think they should do. For example, someone who feels the injunction to carry out an action, such as eating acai bowls, thus so because they think other people think that they should eat them. As for the descriptive norms, uh, this is someone's perception of what other people think they should do, though the truth may be different. Consider someone thinking about whether or not to wear a surgical mask. Their injunctive norm may be that they believe that most experts want to wear them a mask, as do their doctors and family members. However, a descriptive norm describes someone's belief about what other people do. If someone believes that not many people wear masks, the descriptive norm that few people wear masks influences their decision about whether they should do so. Subjective norms are a function of the normative beliefs of a society and the motivation for someone to comply with each important person in someone's life. These important others may include someone's friends, partner, children, parents, and personal trainer. Each of these people has two psychological bodies: their normative belief and their motivation to comply. Whether or not someone believes that the other wants them to care. Normative belief is whether or not someone believes that the other wants them to carry out an action. Meanwhile, the motivation to comply is this describes how much someone wants to do what the significant other wants them to do. For example, normative belief. Whether or not someone thinks their doctor wants them to exercise, this belief can have different strengths. This could mean that someone believes their doctor is certain that they do not want to exercise, while uh, another could mean that they are certain that their significant other wants them to exercise. In motivation to comply, an example for this is someone may have a tendency to not want to do what their mother wants to do, or to do what their children want them to do. Like normative belief, motivation to comply can have a different levels of strength. And the next variable is the behavioral intention. This is then the intention is the readiness to perform behavior. This describes how likely someone thinks they are to perform specific behavior. Again, let's go back to the model. Attitude towards a behavior plus the subjective norm is your behavioral intention. And your behavioral intention is your fuel to do the action, which is the behavior. So the attitude towards the behavior contains beliefs about outcomes and evaluation of these outcomes. While the subjective norm is beliefs about what important others, which is your family, friends, or significant others' attitudes to the behavior, and the motivation to comply with important others, which is said. Next. Let's take the prevention of dengue in the Philippines for example. The attitude towards the behavior is believing that clearing stagnant water stops mosquitoes from breeding, reducing the dengue's risk. Uh, this check the two factors for the attitudes towards the behavior, which is the belief about the outcome and the evaluation of these outcomes. The subjective norm is that everyone expects individuals to join cleanup drives to prevent the spread of dengue. And as I said, subjective norm is more of the social pressure that the individual feels around them. Since everyone, or mostly everyone, wants to prevent the spread of dengue, they should expect that everyone as individuals should also join cleanup drives to prevent the spread of dengue. And combining these two would lead to behavioral intentions. And this would cause them to intend to use repellents and participate in cleanup and active working to prevent the spread of dengue. And again, this is still the intention, but once they do the action, that becomes their behavior. The theory of reasoned action also has some limitations. First is that significant risk of confounding between attitudes and norms. This happens because attitudes can often be reframed as norms and norms as attitudes. For example, someone who has the attitude that kale is good for them may simply be reflecting a subjective norm of a group of influential friends, family, doctors, and social media influencers who believe that kale is healthy. And the second limitation is that limited ability and time of researchers to accurately measure factors that contribute to the model in theory, as well as environmental or organizational limits and unconscious habits that limit someone's freedom to act. There are also practical constraints to the theory of reasoned action, such as the limited time and ability and time of researchers to accurately measure uh, factors that contribute to the models in theory, as well as the environmental and organizational limits.
So for continuation of our report, since we have finished discussing about the health belief model and the theory of reasoned action, now we go to the theory of planned behavior. And the theory of planned behavior, or the TPB, is a cognitive theory by Asgen that proposes that an individual's decision to engage in a specific behavior, such as gambling or not gambling, can be predicted by their intention to engage in that behavior. So, yung intentions are, or yung what we want to aim, or yung intent purpose are assumed to capture the motivational factors that influences the behavior. They are indicators of how hard people are willing to try, of how much of an effort they are willing to give, or planning to exert in order to perform that behavior. So, as stated by Asgen or Asian, as a general rule, the stronger the intention to engage in a behavior or specific behavior is, the more likely should be its performance. So, the more we have that purpose or yung aim natin or we aim for that something, mas more likely na mag-occur yung behavior that we want to perceive or manifest in us. So according to this theory, intentions are determined by three variables. First is the personal attributes, second is subjective norms, third is the behavioral control. So we go to the personal attitudes. Personal attitudes is a particular behavior, and it sums of all our knowledge, attitudes, and prejudices. It can either be positive or negative, the way we think of when we consider the behavior. So meaning ito lang naman din yung overall na knowledge natin and wisdom natin in this current situation or current world. And second is the subjective norms. So from the word subjective, course, it something na hindi siya objective or hindi siya scientific or well proven. So, ito naman is this considered how we view the ideas of other people about a specific behavior. So, yung, for example, yung sa smoking, yun. This could be the attitude of family and friends and colleagues towards the smoking. Pero, it is not what other people think, but our perception toward of others' attitude. So, meaning, kung ano man yung nakikita lang natin, yun yung parang i-indicate natin sa area na to. Okay? Next is yung perceived behavioral control. Itong perceived behavioral control is the extent to which we believe what we can control. We believe we can control our behavior. So this depends on our perception of internal factors such as our determination and our own ability. And external factors, of course, yung impact ng ating environment and even yung mga social groups na nakasupport sa atin. And the theory argues that our perception of behavioral control has two effects. Yung first effect niya is yung our intention to behave in a certain manner or a certain way. So the more we control we think we have over our behavior, the stronger our intention to perform it. So parang yun nga yung parang main na idea behind this theory. Second is it also affects our behavior directly. So if pag makikita natin yung model mamaya, hindi siya kailangan dumaan sa tawag dito, yung intention, but pwede na siyang dumiretso, yung perceived behavioral control, is pwede na siyang dumiretso sa or mag-project ng isang behavior. Okay? So, yun nga, if we perceive that we have a high level of control, we will try harder and longer to succeed. So, the present view of perceived behavioral control, however, is the most compatible with Albert Bandura's concept of perceived self-efficacy. So, kasi it concerns with judgments of how well one can execute concerns of action required to deal with perspective situation. Now, we go to the model. So, yung model naman is to, kung lalagay lang natin lahat yun sa diagram, of course, hindi to na-include, pero syempre ito naman yung pinaka-main na dapat din natin i-consider yung background variables or yung mga bagay na makikita natin dito is yung mga demographic variables, yung psychosocial variables, and even yung ating knowledge. So we have here yung attitude, subjective norm, and yung perceived behavioral control. So itong attitude and subjective norm, it leads to intention. Well, for perceived behavioral control, nagdi-lead na siya agad. Pwede mag-lead na siya agad sa behavior. And yung intention na to, mag-lead siya sa behavior and merong feedback na mangyayari. And explain natin to later. So yung theory of planned behavior is actually very familiar siya kanina dun sa theory of recent action kasi extension lang siya no theory na yun. So parang madami kasing criticisms yung theory of recent action. So ito yung parang naging tukod. So an example here, we have yung vaping if we would apply yung concept ng theory of planned behavior. So here, yung background variables, of course, sinabi ko nga kanina yung mga dapat natin i-consider like yung tawag dito, anong gender ng tao, ano yung socio-economic factors or yung level ng pamumuhay, ilang taon na siya, matanda na ba siya or hindi, and even yung mga ibang factors pa. And culture is also included in this part. So we also have yung mga background variables ito is nagdi-lead siya sa personal attitude. Yung example dito is, kunyari, ako, ang perception ko sa vaping or yung taong to, I mean, ito na lang, yung taong yan, na individual na yan is, yung para sa kanya, ang vaping is relaxing. Pero, meron din siyang mindset na yung vaping costs a lot kasi nga, gagastos. May pera na involved. So, yun. Also, vaping daw is bad for his health. And we go to the subjective norms na nakikita niya na yung mga colleagues niya is nag-vape. So, syempre, parang meron na rin sa kanya yung perception na ako din, mag-vape ako kasi normal lang naman for them. But, meron din akong nakikita or meron din siyang nakikita na yung GF niya or yung girlfriend niya or someone na very important sa kanya does not approve of vaping. So, ayun. So, this will lead to an intention na he will stop vaping. Pero kailangan niya pa rin ng, ano ba yung magiging ways niya para doon. Meron din tayo, yun nga, yung importance po ng perceived behavioral control. Sabi dito, I know I could stop with a bit of help. Yung example is, I can rely on my GF to help me do it. Kasi, yun nga, yung mga ito is nakaka-apekto siya dito. So, kung gaano ka-confident yung individual na ma-overcome niya yung certain behavior na yon, most likely magiging positive yung result. So, kung naniniwala siya, kung may confidence siya according to self-efficacy, of course, magre siya na magsa-stop ng vaping yung tao. And even dito sa mga 'to, yung personal attitude and subjective norms, yung intention niya is magsa-stop siya ng vaping. So, yung intention na yun magre-result sa behavior na nag-stop siya ng vaping. Eto naman yung feedback dito, siyempre nag-stop na siya ng vaping, before, siyempre nga meron siyang attitude na nagve-vape siya. So, magbabago 'yan. It's either kunwari nag-fail siya dito na gano'n pa rin yung attitude niya, of course babalik at babalik lang dito, may i-add lang. Pero 'pag once na nag-succeed siya, of course, babalik siya dito pero magiging iba na 'tong attitude, subjective norms, or behavioral control. It's either meron siyang ibang goals or mas made-develop pa yung goals niya in being, positive on positive and creating a behavior that is good for him. Next, also meron of course hindi naman mawawala yung mga criticisms sa mga different theories. So, first, in contrast to the health belief model and the protection motivation theory, yung motivation theory is used to understand responses to triggers that appraise individuals of potential threat. Itong model na 'to, yung TPB, yung difference niya naman is its attempt to address the problem of social and environmental factors in form of normative beliefs. So, dun sa example natin kanina nakita natin yung eto, yung norms na 'to and wait lang, and even yung backgrounds, yung variables, yung environmental background ng tao. Also, it includes a role for past behaviors within the measure of perceived behavior control and subjected to criticisms in terms of its construct, the method used to test the theory, and the extent to which it can predict behavior. But despite yung mga criticisms na yun, of course, makikita pa rin natin na itong uh, theory na 'to is nag-lead siya into something greater and it really contributed sa, area ng uh, health, lalo na sa pag-create ng mga, campaigns and even yung mga importance ng yun nga, yung mga model na ganito, na makikita natin yung end result or end goal no certain behavior or kung saan ba saan nagmumula yung behavior na positive, okay? So, kasi nga, sabi kanina na yung TPV is an extension of the theory of reason action. So, if pinag-combine natin sila since extended nga sa planned behavior, ito na yun. Overall, ito na yun. So, meron siyang external variables, ito. And merong behavioral beliefs, evaluation of behavioral outcomes, yun naman yung attitude, normative beliefs, motivation to comply ng subjective norms, control beliefs, perceived power, yun yung perceived control, and yung intention to perform behavior. Ito, pwede rin ito dito siya agad kumunik. So yun, ano ba? Ayan, okay. Meron tayong example dito. So, situational example, since I am from Baguio, yung nakikita kong problem sa ngayon is yung situation ng weather natin. So, itong mga weather na ganito, it can lead to certain diseases like hypothermia. So, gumawa ako ng model about it. So, by the way, ito sila pa rin yung gumawa nito or nag-develop nito theory of reason, action, and plan behavior. So, sa sample natin, makikita natin na yung external variables, um, sa demographic variables, we have to consider yung age. Kasi, so ito pala is example ng hypothermia in application for the theory of reason, action, and plan behavior. So yung age, we have to consider that because yung older people or older individuals may have different attitudes and behaviors towards her hypothermia prevention than the younger individuals. Of course, yung gender din na gender differences may exist in clothing choices and behavior related to cold weather. So, background for hypothermia, ito naman yung situation we're in. We are so exposed with cold or windy or wet environment. So, yung gender we have also to consider kasi syempre yung isinusuot din no tao. Okay. Next is yung income level. Of course, we have to consider also yung socioeconomic status that can impact yung access to appropriate clothing and heating facilities. For example, mahirap yung tao. Siyempre, hindi naman natin masasabi na afford niyang bumili ng heater or for example, mayaman yung tao. Of course, mas afford niyang bumili ng mga bagay na makakapag-rescue sa kanya from that certain coldness or yung sa weather na yun. And next is yung uh, education. Of course, kung yung education is for example, for the college students, syempre mas more on knowledgeable sila when it comes to these things kasi meron silang access to education nga sa knowledge, ganun. Or for those people na may alam about this certain situation, yung hypothermia, syempre mas more likely na mas okay yung response nila or mas okay yung attitude or behavior na mapaproject nila. And next is yung attitude towards target. Yung attitudes naman towards target, first yung health. Kasi general attitudes toward health and well-being can influence behavior related to hypothermia prevention. For example, kung hindi mo naman tinitreat ang health as well or important, of course, anong sense ng hypothermia? Baka ano lang yan, kung ano man lang yan sa'yo, parang walang importance, less priority. And also yung attitude natin or attitude ng someone towards cold weather. Eh, for example, wala siyang pakialam kung malamig or hindi. So, makaka-apekto rin yan sa behavior na mapoproject niya. Next is yung personality traits. Dito, yung nilagay ko is risk aversion. Yung risk aversion is yung sa individuals who are more likely to have yung risk aversion or categorized as averse may be more likely to engage in hypothermia prevention behaviors kasi aware sila, kasi conscious sila. And next is yung conscientiousness. Yung conscientiousness individuals may be more proactive in preparing for cold weather conditions. Yung conscientiousness individual, ito naman po yung mga taong very organized or what we consider organized, yung mga things na ginagawa nila is planado na. So, most likely, mag-engage sila sa behavior na magpe-prepare talaga sila for it, yung sa condition na 'to. And next is yung openness to experience. Yung mga taong, for example, wala silang knowledge about this one, is hypothermia. Pero open sila when it comes to it na, ito pala yung nangyayari during cold weather. So, most likely magli-lead yun sa behavior na positive kasi malalaman nila kung ano yung dapat nilang gawin, willing silang matuto. And other individual differences. First is yung health status. Example, siguro ano ba? Yung mga disabled person, gano'n, or mga someone na meron pang other diagnosis like, I don't have example, but yung may mga certain pang health problems sa kanila. Kasi it can lead also sa um, outcome ng or yun sa behavior. Also yung culture, gano'n. Sa culture naman, yung iba siguro sa part na 'pag naka-feel ng taglamig gano'n, iba yung approach. Siguro masaya gano'n. But yun nga, may iba-iba tayong parang perception towards it. So 'pag kunwari sa culture na isa, kino-consider nilang altogether as a blessing, isa naman kino-consider nila ito as someone na kailangang prevent or, paghandaan. Of course, magle-lead yan into an attitude or a behavior that can either be good or bad, okey. And also yung mga past experiences natin, uh, hindi naman necessarily na same na illness or incidents, but yung point na nagkasakit ka, yung individual, of course magiging extra care siya, ayun. So here, we have yung next naman, itong external variables na minention ko kanina lahat is magde-lead sa mga ito. First is yung behavioral beliefs. So belief in benefits of wearing appropriate clothing to prevent hypothermia. So siyempre ang hypothermia, one way to twist it or to cope with it is to wear appropriate clothing. Kasi, for example, pumapasok yung individual sa school, alangang hindi na lang siya pumasok, gano'n. Pero yung point na magwe-wear siya ng appropriate na clothing like wearing jacket, mga makakapal to prevent yung cold weather. Puwede rin yung pag-inom ng hot coffee or hot choco or prevention for ice, um, mga drinks, ice coffee, gano'n, mga drinks na either makalala din sa situation or yung body temperature ng tao. Second is yung evaluation of behavioral outcomes. Positive evaluation of staying warm and avoiding cold-related health risks. Yun nga, na-mention ko rin kanina na yun lang, yung pag-stay na sa warm areas, gano'n. Alangang, puwede, pero yung point dito is magsi-stay ka sa warm area kasi alam mo dun yung safe, gano'n. Or maiisip mo na dun yung safe. Yun yung either na puwedeng maging attitude natin towards cold weather. Next is yung normative belief, yung perception of others' expectation to engage in hypothermia prevention behaviors. Ito naman is yung sa family naman, yung family natin expects them to prevent hypothermia by dressing warmly. So, related pa rin dito. Pinag-same pa lang yung example para hindi tayo malito. So, yung family nag-expect sa atin na mag-wear ng something na warm para ma-prevent natin yung cold weather. And yung motivation to comply, yung individuals are driven to actively engage dun sa pag-prevent ng hypothermia kasi nga yung family niya nag-e-expect. So itong mga 'to, it is the subjective norm kung ano yung sa tingin nating iniisip ng ibang tao. about sa isang bagay. Okay. And itong mga 'to, yan. So, separate naman siya, yung perceive, control. Yung first is yung controlled beliefs, access to warm clothing, and proper heating facilities. Yun nga, for example, limited, gano'n. Kasi, for example, sabi ko kanina wala siyang hindi naman lahat mayaman, hindi naman lahat afford makabili ng heater or, um, damit, ganyan, or wala namang lugar na mainit, gano'n. It can also affect gano'n, yun yung mga controlled beliefs. Pero iko-contradict yan ng perceived power. So, yung perceived power, yung despite these challenges, si Miguel, yung na-example na nilagay ko ditong pangalan is Miguel, Miguel Miguel firmly believes by improving with available resources, demonstrating with a strong sense of personal efficacy in safeguarding himself. So, ang random ng Miguel. Pero yung point na, yung certain individual is naniwala siyang even merong mga barriers or limitations, andun pa rin yung part na gagawa siya ng paraan, gamit yung mga different resources na nasa paligid niya. Like for example, kung wala siyang clothes na talagang warm, puwede naman siya mag-double ng clothes or ng jacket, gano'n. Para magkaroon siya ng control over dun sa situation niya. For example din yung sa part na wala siyang pagsi-stayan na warm place, puwede siyang makapunta sa mga friends niya or puwede siyang makiusap sa ibang mga tao, yung mga social groups niya gano'n, na mag-seek siya ng help. So, siya rin yung magkokontrol dun sa situation niya. And this can lead to itong attitude and subjective norms to intention to perform the behavior. So, yung strong intentions to prevent hypothermia through appropriate clothing and behaviors. Ayun. And it can lead to a behavior na active engagement in prevention to hypothermia prevention action. So, ayun, yung mga behavior na yun puwedeng educational campaigns, I mean yung mga intervention na puwede natin gawin towards is yung educational campaigns, then yung raising awareness about hypothermia, very techy na ang mga tao ngayon. So, puwede natin gamitin ang social media platforms to raise awareness. Also yung social support na, um, like yung sa example dito yung normative belief na yung family ni Miguel or certain individual, naniniwala sila na meron silang belief dun sa bata or sa individual na yun na kailangan niyang gawin 'tong pagganito, kailangan niya mag-wear ng warm clothes. So, parang sa atin lang din I mean sa individual na 'to, if i-apply niya 'to sa kanya, encourage niya yung mga peers niya, even yung mga taong 'to, yung mga family members niya, na gawin din yung the same para of course they can prevent din. And next is yung accessibility, yung ensure easy access to warm clothings, shelters, and heating facilities. Yun nga, pero yung point na hindi lahat is or everyone is available to. So we have to be creative then. We have to make our own and we have to turn our resources into something na beneficial for our situation na merong magandang effect or magbi-build ng magandang behavior. So next is yung skill building. We have to provide training on dressing appropriately. Of course, meron sa gender natin, yun nga, kung babae ka parang mas pa-appropriate daw na mag-wear ng dress, gano'n. Para ma-indicate na babae ka o ganyan. But yung point na puwede pa rin naman tayong pumorma in a way na makikita pa rin, I mean, ayun, na andun pa rin yung fashion but also andun yung safety natin when it comes to this kasi puwede siyang for example, hindi tayo maayos manamit or hindi angkop na lang yung pananamit natin sa weather, maapektuhan yung katawan natin na puwede ring makaresulta sa hypothermia. So, actually yun lang naman yung report namin. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.